Welcome, my friends, back to the fog. This is a world of terror, pain, and death, a realm where horrors stalk the night and prey on the fears and horrors of helpless victims, desperate to survive and escape, and all this for the amusement of a mad god who plays with their fears. But the entity isn't the only reality-warping demon now in the fog. A nightmare has emerged within the fog, and with him a survivor who knows a thing or two about enduring against hopeless realities. Quentin Smith is a quiet, patient, and easygoing young man, if a bit geeky. He has a strong sense of right and wrong and morality, and he also is in love with Nancy Holbrook, his high school crush. After the mysterious death of their mutual friend Chris, Nancy and Quentin decide to research the death and learn that Chris, Quentin, and Nancy all attended the same preschool in their youth. And all of those kids from that preschool have all been dying in one way or another. Most of them connected in some way to a mysterious and frightening figure who has been appearing in their dreams. Freddy Krueger. Quentin has had a dream one night about Freddy's past, fleeing from a mob of angry parents who trap him inside his own home and set the place on fire, burning him alive. Outraged, Quentin confronts his father, who he saw as part of the mob in the dream, and learns the truth. Freddy Krueger was a child molester and pedophile who worked as a groundskeeper at the preschool. When the parents found out about his abuse of the children, they chased him down into his own home and burned it to the ground. Now Freddy has returned as a dream demon, who kills the teenage children in their dreams one by one as payback for his death. Desperate to evade their own dreams, Quentin and Nancy tried to obtain sleeping pills to stay awake, but can't get them. Nancy is attacked in her dream and slashed badly, so Quentin takes her to the hospital, where he also manages to steal some adrenaline shots. When they get out of the hospital, Quentin finally gets up the courage to ask Nancy out. On the road, they find the old preschool, and also the cave where Krueger would abuse his victims. Quentin and Nancy share their fears with each other and come yet closer, but Freddy isn't done with these two lovebirds, and they know it. Powerless in their dreams, they decide that the only way to defeat him is to drag Freddy into the real world where he can be harmed. Nancy falls asleep and has a nightmare of Freddy, but is hoping that Quentin will wake her so she can pull him into the real world. But Quentin has succumbed to sleep as well, and was now engaged in his own battle for survival. Quentin finally manages to wake himself up and hurries to Nancy to wake her, and when all else fails, he injects her with the adrenaline, which wakes her quickly, and pulls Freddy into the real world. Quentin then engages in battle with Freddy to protect Nancy. He's no match for the physically powerful demon, but he manages to stab Freddy in the leg and draw his attention away from Nancy so she can cut his hand off and then slash his throat. Nancy then helps Quentin escape as they burn down the preschool behind them, where they believe they have won the fight. However, not all is as it seems. Freddy was still alive and had killed Nancy's mother. Quentin knew what this meant. Freddy would come after Nancy and him soon enough, so he began working to find a way to defeat Krueger. He decided that perhaps he could find a way to defeat Freddy in the dream world. He studied dreams and how to better control them, how to escape dreams and recognize cracks in reality to help him. Freddy didn't take long to force Quentin to put his new training to the test. Quentin was able to outwit Freddy several times, escaping from Freddy in his dreams quite frequently, much to the annoyance of the dream demon. At last, he lured Freddy into a trap where he lit him on fire and thought he, at last, had won. But it was all a ruse. Freddy still came for him. Now Quentin had one last gamble to play. A battle of wills. Dreams were worlds of the mind, where the mind creates reality. If his will was strong enough, perhaps he could destroy Freddy by desiring it. He tried his hardest to envision Freddy's demise, to push his will and his desire to the forefront of his thoughts. But before he could see if his will was strong enough, his world was enveloped by fog. When he came to, he was no longer in his own dream. He was in a world unfamiliar to him, standing by a campfire with others, all of whom were scared, unsure, and tired. They needed his help. His only solace was that Freddy might be trapped here too, and so at least Nancy was safe. Nightmare on Elm Street was a movie franchise that I just never got invested in. I do find it kind of interesting, the idea of a killer who kills you in your dreams, and I admit that some of the sequels have very creative death scenes, and Freddy himself kind of turned into something of a meme. I think that's why I don't take him seriously as a killer, though. I know the reboot made him more serious and dangerous, but when I see Freddy in the game, I can't help but think of the joking and goofy kills, the funny one-liners, and of course, my favorite kill in the whole franchise, the cockroach kill. I'm sorry, that one just grosses me out. But if there's one thing I did like about the reboot, it was definitely Quentin. I feel Quentin is a very understandable and even relatable character. Smart, devoted, not overbearing, and enjoyable to follow. I liked him better than Glenn in the original movie, and though Johnny Depp played him well enough, I didn't really like him all that much, you know? I love how Dead by Daylight worked with Quentin too, playing off his cleverness and yearning to preserve and persevere and continue to try and protect Nancy from the threat of Freddy. I was very impressed with our approach to his lore. But, of course, when talking about survivors, there's no real power to go into. It's his design and his perks. As far as design goes, one of the things that people are most upset about with Quentin is he doesn't have any other designs. He has one look and that's it. He doesn't have any other customizable options, which is kind of a bummer. But what about his perks? His perks? Well, let's take a look. Quentin carries Wake Up, Pharmacy, and Vigil. Wake Up allows Quentin to see the aura of the exit gate switch from 128 meters away when all the generators are completed. Other survivors can also see this aura while he's activating an exit switch. Your exit gate opening speed is also increased by as much as 25%, which can be a real great help for you and the other survivors if you're being pressured by strong killers with perks like No One Escapes Death. Pharmacy increases the unlocking speed of all chests by up to 80% and reduces the unlocking sound of chests by 8 meters, meaning that Quentin can unlock chests incredibly efficiently and effectively without being noticed. However, opening a chest guarantees an emergency medkit when opened, so it can't provide toolboxes, flashlights, or any other items for you. Only medkits. And given the ease of healing through boons and teamwork that have been discovered throughout the game's history, this perk isn't nearly as useful anymore. Now, Vigil is a perk that... No.
You never saw me coming.
No, although, granted, you do remind me a bit of Freddy with the whole now you see me, now you don't thing. Anyway, off topic. Anyway, Vigil is a perk that increases your recovery from blindness, broken, exhausted, exposed, hemorrhage, hindered, and oblivious status effects, so pretty much all of them, by up to 30%. This effect applies to all survivors within 8 meters of you and lingers for 15 seconds. This perk actually can be very useful for the survivor, as it means that ailments and negative states of being become less potent. Personally, and again, I say this is a personal point of perspective, I like Quentin as a character in Dead by Daylight. I just don't care for everything that he brings to the table. Like I said, his pharmacy perk isn't nearly as useful as it used to be, and Wake Up can only be useful in the endgame. Vigil, meanwhile, is decent. It can be kind of useful throughout the game if you have a killer who's very good at dropping status ailments on you. But I think the problem with Quentin, and I mean this seriously, I don't mean this as a joke, he's kind of meh. He's just kind of there, which I think is the big problem. He's a character that came from an existing franchise, Nightmare on Elm Street, but he doesn't bring a whole lot to really make him stand out. No fancy cosmetics, no really powerful perks, nothing really that makes him unique, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's kind of faded into the ether. Most people don't really remember that he exists. Only people seem to remember that Freddy's a part of the game, but they don't even remember that Quentin's there. He very much embodies what he was in the movie. Kind of a nerd, kind of a geek who had a crush on a girl and now is in a world far beyond what he could possibly imagine. I think that they did well with what they were trying to do in terms of his lore. I like how they expanded on it to show that he wanted to continue trying to fight Freddy and found a unique way to do it. I think that's creative. But for what they gave us, I'm afraid it's just not enough. It didn't really give enough of what we really needed. But with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. And I will see you next time in the fog. Take care.